remarkable group of people coming together here. So nice to see all of you. Before we begin the tribute to Betty, I would like to ask people, first of all, if you happen to have something that rings, a cell phone or some other device, if you'd please turn that off. Secondly, I'd like to draw your attention to the program. The paintings, the drawings on the program, as well as the layout, were made by Emily Titterton. And the lavender plant on the front symbolizes devotion. And the echinacea, or the cone plant, inside represents strength. Devotion and strength. Those are attributes that we know Betty has. Finally, I would like to also thank Jennifer Stone and Elizabeth Stone, Jennifer's daughter, for making these beautiful arrangements up here. It really sets the feeling of the whole service. So, on behalf of the Stone family, I would like to welcome you to Al and Betty's home, where last evening we were visited by a soft and hopeful rainbow over Betty's garden to my left, and a sunset with mountainous clouds and a silver lining at the top of the summit of this huge cumulus clouds. We stood up, looked at the lining, and said, "We feel her presence." On their behalf, I extend a welcome to you from Al and Betty's sons, daughters, 14 grandchildren, and great-grandson Russ. Coming in at four months old, I think 22 pounds. I also want to extend Al's gratefulness for you attending today, and particularly on behalf of Betty, where she so often, I'm sure many of you, she so often welcomed people with warmth, genuineness, and grace. Present are individuals from Sterilite, the towns of Groton and Townsend, the United Way, Applewell School, Lawrence Academy, dear friends, extended family, and all others who knew and loved Betty. Your presence is testimony to the respect, regard, and affection people feel toward the Stone family, and especially toward Betty. Thank you so much for being here, and I say it myself and on behalf of the Stone family. I've known Betty for 36 years, and I'm a former head of Applewell School. A school that has flourished and benefited from the enduring loyalty and positive influence of Al and Betty and other Stone family members. My wife Donna's friendship and my friendship with Al and Betty go back to a cold February night in 1979. They both welcomed us, took us into their home for our initial introduction into Applewell. We arrived from northern Vermont just as the Stones had finished a Sunday family dinner and were busily cleaning up the kitchen. Betty's graciousness toward us began that moment when, without hesitation, she prepared a meal for us. But from that moment on, and many times more, Betty's acts of kindness were the acts of a friend. Initially a stranger, then a friend. And we got a sneak preview, Dawn and I, of the generosity and the supportive nature of the Applewold community. Al likes to let folks know, now Al, you've told this story before, Al likes to let people know that I got the job at Applewold because of the dinner rolls my wife made for him. When he came out to visit me on our turf. I never shared this before, Al, but I accepted the offer to go to Applewold because Betty so graciously prepared a meal for us and quickly revealed her spirit of generosity, and I also say agile flexibility. That's a skill she honed by raising 5 kids. The poet James Dickey observed, and I quote, "The only question worth pondering is, how am I going to lead my life?" What you will be hearing from family members today is how Betty led her life. Betty's life is an answer to Dickey's question, how should I lead my life? We all would do well by learning from her. Thank you. Katie, come on out, please.
I'm Katie Titterton, and I'm married to Kevin, Buddy, and Al's grandson, and our son Russell is their great-grandson. And this is a letter I wrote Buddy in July. Dear Betty, as I put Russ to bed tonight, I told him how he brings so much joy to so many people just by being who he is. He doesn't even know yet how many people are happy he's here. And I was thinking how that describes you too, and the rippling effect you have on everyone you meet. I've told you in notes over the years, you have always made me feel welcome, comfortable, listened to, and cared for. But that radiating acceptance is a gift you share with everyone. Many of my family and friends, and this is a very small sample of the people you've reached, have been struck by your warmth and maybe changed by it. Because it's not often people meet another person who makes them feel they're special within their own skin. You bring so much joy to so many people just by being who you are. And isn't that the most wonderful legacy? I don't know if you can ever know how many people are happy you're here.
Hello, I'm Susan, Betty and Al's daughter, and I decided I wanted to talk about Mom's hands. While Mom was in the hospital that last week, we took turns holding her hands, and I was struck by how warm and soft they were, just like always. And it seemed like there was energy that kept flowing from her hands to ours and back again, and sometimes there'd be a squeeze. Now, when I was younger, I used to compare my hands to Mom's. Mine were rounded and smooth back then, and hers showed some veins on the back, and her knuckles were a little knobby from arthritis. I can't remember her ever with nail polish, but that's what Mom hands looked like to me, and I figured someday I would have Mom hands too. Mom did a lot of powerful things with her hands. She used her hands to prepare thousands of special meals, and her cooking has been the centerpiece of so many family celebrations and hundreds of lively evenings with neighbors and dear friends. Food as connector, food as love. Frankly, for me, standing in the kitchen and splitting a homemade cookie with Mom qualified as a special meal. We never finished each other's halves or each other's sentences. Mom's hands, as you may have heard already, held countless babies. There were 5 children, 14 grandchildren, countless nieces and nephews, and in the last few months, her great-grandson. She held each baby close and with love. The day before she died, I came across a quote by a Chinese philosopher I had never heard of before from 300 BC, but it seemed really apt. All the children who are held and loved will know how to love others. Spread these virtues in the world, nothing more need be done. For Mom, holding a newborn baby was a package deal, always, that included care for the whole family. She tended to us as parents, as well as to the brand new big brothers and sisters. Truthfully, we often found it really hard to see Mom leave after a week of postpartum meals, encouragement, and clean laundry. Dad was pretty excited to have her home though. With her hands, Mom communicated unconditional love to others. She had that habit of throwing her arms wide to welcome you with a big hug. And she was also really good at stopping her hands from the busyness of some task and giving her undivided attention. And the message was, I think you're wonderful, and I really want to hear what's happening in your world. From the hundreds of cards that have been streaming in the last few weeks, it's clear that Mom's kind regard and her welcoming stance and her focused attention have been felt by many others over the years. And as Katie mentioned, the ripples go out. Lastly, Mom's hands created beautiful writing. In fact, you can see a sample of it on the back of the program today. Her handwriting was old school, so whether she was composing a thank you note or a shopping list, she formed those same carefully scripted letters. And even with all the birthdays and graduations and anniversaries she had on her calendar, without fail, there would arrive a card just for you, signed in her hand and saying, love Betty, love Grandma, or love Mom. Thank you.
Growing up, a stone's throw away from the kindest and most loving grandmother and grandfather was a dream come true for the three of us. Through pain and pleasure, tough and easy times, tears of sorrow and of joy, my grandmother was a constant in our lives. She was a shoulder we could cry on, arms we could embrace in a warm hug, and a friend that we could joke with or play cards against. Some of the fondest childhood memories I shared with my grandmother begin at the ripe age of 4, when she and my grandfather moved into the house next door, and I discovered their jacuzzi bathtub. Needless to say, my visits became a daily occurrence. The childish excitement I felt as I waltzed through the barn, down the stone path, and up to the front door only added to the large grin that I wore during the most exciting time of my visits to see my grandmother. I could always count on her to be waiting on the other side of the front door, with her arms spread in a wide hug, and a towel hanging over her shoulder that was given to me after I had finished telling her about my day and about anything new that was happening in my life. Soon, my visits for baths became visits for cards and delicious dinners that my grandmother had prepared. The towel over her shoulder disappeared, but her embrace and kiss on the cheek remained as loving as ever. I will miss the best cook, the best card player, the best listener, and the best friend that I've ever had the privilege of growing up next to. She has taught me many things throughout my life, but perhaps the most important is to be the best person that you can be and to love everyone with all your heart.
Over the years, I have written many thank you notes to my grandparents. In the wake of birthdays and holidays, I often give thanks to them for their thoughtful gifts and for all that they do for our family and me during the rest of the year. This past week, I celebrated a birthday, my first celebration in Grandma's absence. The following is my final thank you to my grandmother for all that she has done in my first 17 years of life. Dear Grandma, I cannot thank you enough for your endless love and support. I know that I am blessed because your warmth and kindness have always been right next door. You have been a constant in my life from the beginning, Grandparents' days, games, plays, holidays, and birthdays have always been complete because of your presence. Few people are as fortunate as we are to have had someone so reliable and consistent in their lives. I want to thank you for all of the moments, the fondue dinners, the weenie roasts, the delicious meals that left us reclined in our chairs in slight discomfort due to the second helpings we could not resist, for passing on some of your best recipes, especially the award-winning apple pie. Thank you for Friday afternoons spent together in elementary school. The hours I had you all to myself were the most precious. Thank you for adding a new pearl to our strands every birthday and Christmas to remind us that we have grown and changed every year. We could not have done so without you. Thank you for meeting us with open arms in Marion on Friday afternoons and for always having hot cocoa ready after speeding on December 26th. Thank you for being a friend, providing a second home, and instilling a piece of yourself in all of us. Most importantly, thank you for showing us how to be kind and selfless until the end. Love always, Andrew.
On summer evenings in Marion, when our whole family would get together, we used to pile onto the couch around 7:05 to watch the Red Sox. Grandma would always sit in the chair to the left of the couch and cheer the Sox on with us. As the innings went by, the younger cousins would be squeezed or rolled off of the couch to make room for uncles and older cousins. And the Sox would steadily build their lead. This was back when the team was enjoying more success. Inevitably, there would come a time during the late innings when Grandma would rise from her chair, declare that the team was in good hands with the rest of us still watching, and tell us all that it was time for her to turn in for the night. She believed she might be jinxing her team by staying, and while I don't believe Grandma's presence could ever bring bad luck, her system always worked. I don't think the Sox ever lost one of those games once she went to sleep. I like to think that when Grandma turned in for the night one last time on July 25th, she did so knowing that we were all in good hands. She battled cancer with a graceful tenacity until she was ready to see us off. It was as though her fight with cancer was the last lesson she wanted to leave us with. She left us with so many lessons instilling love and kindness, but this last one instilled courage. It is the same type of courage that it took for her to leave us that we would need to go on without her. For the three of us, I think between all the jacuzzis and the pearls she gave us, the values of kindness, selflessness, love, and courage that she impressed on us, and the home she provided for us, Grandma did all she could to make sure that we had an insurmountable lead when she left.
I am one of the lucky ones because my mom was also my neighbor. For 24 years, we lived next door to each other, and in that time, my family has frequently traveled the well-worn path to her door. On those brief trips across the yard, our footsteps would quicken as we approached my parents' house, anticipating our arrival into the calm, welcoming circle of Mom's kitchen. Each time we crossed the threshold, we would be met with warmth, understanding, and an unflagging interest in our daily lives. I'm keenly aware of how fortunate I was to have easy access to the woman who radiated unconditional love. One friend recently commented that my mother and I made a great team. Mom certainly inspired me with her unwavering thoughtfulness. As neighbors, we would share freshly baked muffins and cookies, leave a casserole with a welcome home note when one of us had been away, or arrive at the door with a spare quart of berries that had looked too perfect to pass up at the farm stand. She was generous with her time and a cherished caregiver for our kids. Without reservation, she would offer her help when we needed an extra set of hands. She was an integral part of their upbringing and understood each of them completely. With no questions asked, she could seamlessly transition into our world of after-school pickups, play dates, birthday parties, soccer games, and even the rare trip to the emergency room. We all recognized and appreciated Mom's gift for quietly supporting us and intuitively knowing what each of us needed in the moment. In addition to being a thoughtful, generous neighbor and a patient, nurturing role model of motherhood, Mom was a sought-after friend and confidant. Through the years, when I would face a difficult situation, she would often reassure me by saying, "I have faith in you." Over time, these proved to be comforting words to the teenager panicked about a final exam, the young mother worried about a colicky baby, or the grown daughter anxious to bring comfort to her ailing mother. Knowing that someone with such inner strength believed in me was uplifting. It made self-doubt, worry, and anxiety recede, replaced instead by a sense of calm security. At times, I over-flexibly tell our kids, "I have faith in you." It happens before I realize that I'm echoing Mom's words. In these moments, I realize that she is already part of us. We catch glimpses of her in the thoughtful gestures, understanding nods, and kind words that we exchange with each other as we go about our days. This is how we'll continue to keep Mom close and share her example of unselfish caring. She is with us now and will be always.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve, the fourth of Betty and Al's kids. I want to thank you on behalf of everyone in our family for being here this afternoon for this celebration of our mom's life. I'd like to talk about one of Mom's passions because I think it offers a window into what was important to her and gave her joy in life. Mom loved to cook, and she was a very skilled chef. She enjoyed everything about cooking, starting with planning a meal. She read cookbooks on a daily basis the way most people read the daily newspaper. I have a vivid image of her sitting down to eat her sandwich for lunch, a new cookbook laid out next to her plate. She would focus intently as she slowly flipped through the pages, assessing each recipe to see if it was the perfect dish that someone would enjoy. As a result of her passion for cooking, she collected many, many, many cookbooks. The next step was shopping for the ingredients. There was sort of a running joke in our family to try and guess how many times in one day when we were all home, Mom would go to the grocery store. And that may have been a reflection of how quickly our big family consumed all the food she brought home, but I think it also was a sign of her determination to get the perfect ingredients for whatever she was making. Finally came the preparation and cooking. In the house where we grew up across the field here, the kitchen faced a raised counter where everyone gathered as dinner was being prepared. If you've ever watched the cooking competition show Iron Chef, you're familiar with the term kitchen stadium. Well, our kitchen was the original kitchen stadium, and Mom put on an amazing cooking demonstration every night for all of us. We perched on our stools, facing the kitchen, and watching hungrily as Mom prepared one of our favorite dinners. For me, there was a real feeling of joy when I discovered that she was making meatballs and spaghetti, chicken pot pie, or beef stroganoff for dinner. There was also the occasional liver and bacon, but we agreed to disagree about that a long time ago. While we watched Mom preparing that night's meal, she was happy to explain every step of the process. It was also a good time for Mom to ask each of us how our days had gone and to provide advice and encouragement. At that counter, we absorbed a lot of wisdom and perspective from Mom and got our first lessons in cooking. I chose to speak about Mom's passion for cooking because I think it offers a window into her soul. She enjoyed the steps in creating the meal, but it wasn't reading the cookbooks or shopping for the ingredients or even the preparation of the meal itself that brought her joy. For Mom, the true joy came from anticipating and then seeing the happiness that her cooking brought to her family or friends. She was truly a selfless person whose greatest pleasure was giving love and friendship to others. My siblings and I and many of our children have all absorbed from Mom what a pleasure it can be to cook for others, and we enjoy doing it whenever we can. I think Mom was very pleased to see that her love of cooking and caring for others was a legacy that had continued through the generations of our family. We will miss her for the rest of our lives, but I think every time we experience the joy of sharing a well-prepared meal, we will know that she's still with us.
I was my grandmother's first grandchild, and as a result, I heard the story of the night I was born every time we were together for 32 years. It all has been exactly the same way. She got a phone call from my father, got in her station wagon, and somehow made it to northern Vermont in under 3 hours despite a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. The details never changed, and I began to wonder if she realized how many times she told it. Eventually I realized she wasn't trying to tell me something new. She was sharing a moment that she loved and wanted to keep fresh in her mind. The point of the story was the memory that accompanied it, and the person standing before her as a result. I'm one of 14 grandchildren, and I think that each of my cousins had the exact same experience. For each of us, when you were with her, you were the only person that mattered. My grandmother taught me the need to preserve the good things that happen to us. She also taught me the value of letting people know why they're important to you, and to keep reminding them that you love them. I think the reason my grandmother touched so many people is that she treated everybody she cared for this way. I won't forget how beloved she made us all feel, or how fast she could drive when her grandchild was being born.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen, second daughter. Proust wrote, "Let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom." Mom and I shared a love of gardening. She had a beautiful garden in Marion, filled with perennials of varied colors and shapes. She knew all the names of the plants and what they needed to blossom. In much the same way, she had an amazing memory for the people she knew. She remembered the names of all your kids, even if she'd never met them. She remembered birthdays and anniversaries. We always got a lovingly selected card, signed and addressed in her beautiful, perfect script. We knew we were important to her and in her thoughts. In the garden, Mom nurtured her perennials and they thrived. Her beds always seemed to be overflowing with blooms. In much the same way she nurtured Dad, my siblings and me, her grandchildren, great-grandchild, and friends. Home was always a warm and welcoming place with Mom's presence. We always felt her great pleasure in having us home. We enjoyed her wonderful cooking, dinners around the table together, and the warmth of her love. Growing up, our friends loved coming to our house because of the nurturing and accepting atmosphere Mom created. Mom took delight in her garden. She loved the varied shapes and hues of the foliage and flowers, all of them. In much the same way, she loved each member of her family, each with their own distinct personality. Her husband and partner, her 5 children and their spouses, her grandchildren and great-grandchild. She made all of us feel as though we were the person she most wanted to see in the world when we walked in the door. She was a gardener of the heart, and there was sunshine in her smile. She was the same way with her friends and acquaintances. She always made you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. The echo of Mom resonates in all of us, a blessing worth celebrating. If you are able, please rise for the singing of the hymn, "I Come to the Garden Alone." It's one of Dad's favorite. And the musicians will play the hymn through one time, and then we'll sing the 2 verses. Thank you.
afternoon. I'm Bob Titterton, Susan's husband. Soon after I married into the Stone family, I was introduced to the game of bridge. In the beginning, Susan and I were partners. We played against Betty and Al. We played whenever we visited or went on vacation together. They taught me how many points one needed for an opening bid, what to leave in a no trump hand, the dangers of bidding a club convention, and the ritual of walking around your chair after a string of non-biddable hands. It soon became clear that bridge isn't exactly a game. Betty was a serious student of the game, and she was always employing some new tactic learned at Bridge Club. Our opponents had certain stylistic differences in their card play. This included their approach to bidding, responding to a bid, the number of times one shuffled the deck, dealing, when to finesse, and what qualified as table talk. Sometimes there were discussions pertaining to these differences of opinion. I can't remember who made the suggestion, but after a while it was decided that we mix up the teams. And so, for most of my married life, I was Betty's bridge partner. I looked for one of her old score pads that were headed we and they. Betty and I were the team referred to as they. I couldn't find one, probably because the we team characteristically filed our score sheets in the fireplace for safekeeping. When the scores were totaled at the end of an evening's play, it was Betty's nature to accept the loss gracefully and to be satisfied by winning quietly. In the final tally, the record shows that Betty and I spent much of our time being very quiet. Thank you, Betty.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter, and I am Betty's grandson, one of 14 to be exact. I too want to thank you all for coming out today to pay your respects. Your attendance speaks volumes about the positive impact my grandmother had on all of our lives. As a young child, I referred to my grandmother as Grandma Clip-Clop, in reference to the noise the horses here on the farm made when walking from the pasture to the barn each and every night. I know I speak for the rest of my cousins here in saying that we are incredibly fortunate to have Grandma Clip-Clop as our grandma. She was an amazing person. To highlight this, I reached out to my siblings and a few of my cousins over the past couple of weeks and asked them what words come to mind when thinking of Grandma. There are many adjectives that describe our grandmother, but a few words in particular stick out. Number one, caring. My grandmother was unbelievably caring. With one husband, 5 children and their spouses, 14 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson, my grandmother had a lot of people to look after and care for in her life. One example of my grandmother's caring personality involves my sister, Elizabeth. Elizabeth publishes an online blog that focuses on travel, fashion, and cooking. Now, my grandmother was never an avid user of technology, but as a passionate cook and caring grandmother, she took it upon herself to learn how to operate a computer so that she could follow Elizabeth's blog on a daily basis. She quickly became one of the blog's most loyal fans, and even had a few of her cooking recipes featured on the site. Not bad for a woman who, prior to the blog, had rarely used a computer before, let alone surfed the internet. Number 2, welcoming. My grandmother was one of the most welcoming individuals I have ever met. Her love and generosity never wavered. The door of her house was always open to family and all friends. There were a number of times in my life when I dropped by Grandma's house in Marion unannounced. Whether it was for a few minutes, a few hours, a whole weekend, I always knew I'd be completely welcome to stay and enjoy Grandma's hospitality. Among my family, my grandfather is well known for exclaiming, "Boy, am I glad I came," when partaking in a family event hosted by my grandmother. When Grandma was hosting, and especially cooking, we were all glad that we came. Number 3, loving. For my brothers Will and Ben and me, some of our fondest memories with Grandma took place at the Catanza Golf Club, located a few miles down the street from her home in Marion. As confident teenagers, my brothers and I tended to approach each golf shot in terms of who could hit the ball hardest and farthest. Grandma, on the other hand, would always take a steady swing that resulted in the ball traveling a shorter distance, but always straight and always consistent. I will always remember one particular round with Grandma, a challenging one because the winds were gusting up to 40 miles per hour. The strong winds, combined with my brothers and my reckless approaches, resulted in a long day on the course. We must have lost 20 balls that day, and that may be conservative. Despite our lackluster performance, one would have thought that my brothers and I had shot the rounds of our lives when we returned to the house that afternoon, and family members asked Grandma for a recap of the day. In Grandma's eyes, golf was never about who had the best score or hit the ball farthest, but instead having fun and enjoying each other's company. This is an attitude I will hold close to my heart for the rest of my life. On the golf course and in life, there are good days and bad, but in the big picture, life is really about spending time with those whom you love and having fun while doing so. My grandmother was the epitome of this philosophy. I'm sure everyone here has memories much like mine. They are great memories and something that we will always have to cherish when thinking about my grandmother. It isn't often in our lives that we come across someone so special that that person stays with you forever. Grandma was definitely that kind of person. So, for your caring nature, your always warm and welcoming personality, and your never wavering love, thank you, Grandma Klipkoff. I will love you forever.
Hey guys. This was the last minute. Here's number one. That's up there, gentlemen. Excuse the adapter.
Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly come when all is said and done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. Hold me in your thoughts, take me to your dreams. Touch me when I'm falling into view. When the winter comes, keep the fires lit, and I will be right next to you. Up north to pleasant streets, keep me in your heart for a while. These wheels keep on rolling, but they're running out of steam. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while.
Then we'll do a step.
Don't rush.
It's all right. Go ahead.
This work? There we go. Good afternoon. I'm David Stone. I'm in the middle of 5. I didn't know what my family members were going to say before me today, but I knew we would all share the same message. We all use the same words to describe our mom. Words like kind, gentle, compassionate, gracious. We all wanted you to know how special we thought she was. But as we learned over the past few weeks, you all already knew how special she was, because you used the same words in an avalanche of thoughtful notes and kind comments you shared with us. You all experienced her remarkable ability to show real joy and genuine interest in your welfare when she met you again, no matter how much time had passed since the last time. For the past few years, when I would stop by to visit, I would usually greet her the same way by saying, "Betty, how are you?" And I know it's a little overly familiar, but my mother was okay with that. And her answer was always the same. It was always, "All the better for seeing you, Dave." She made me feel special. But then, as we heard from all you folks out there, she had a unique ability to make you all feel special too. She remembered the name of everyone in your family and what they were up to when you last spoke. She focused the attention on you and on what interested you: golf, cooking, bridge, travel, and of course, always family. And not on herself. She was a supportive presence that was always there, surrounding us, embracing us, and sustaining us. When we learned in May of last year that Mom had cancer, she became the focal point for once. And that focus only reinforced to me how exceptional she really was. The traits you all noted, the kindness, the compassion, the grace, remained pronounced throughout. But she also demonstrated remarkable qualities that maybe you didn't see every day. She was incredibly physically tough. Perhaps she had to be to raise 5 children, but she was. And she was emotionally stoic in the face of her illness. She didn't complain at all. And she constantly expressed her gratitude for any care, kindness, assistance, or good wishes that family and friends might give her. The gracious nature we all knew was so equally apparent to the doctors and the nurses and the caregivers who worked so hard to help her and who clearly grew to admire her. The weekly trips we took to Boston, to Dana-Farber, were never enjoyable visits, but they did provide an opportunity to spend time with Mom and to witness an ongoing lesson in how to treat others and how to live your life. And any time spent with Mom was always good time. My mother truly had a big and welcoming heart, and she gave so much to all of us here. My hope is that we'll do as the song that Ian and Chris and Tom just sang suggests, that we keep her in our heart for a while and that we follow the example that she set. We can be kind as she was, thoughtful as she was, gracious as she was. We can appreciate others and focus on the goodness in others as she always did. If we can keep her in our hearts for a while, the lessons we learn from her can live on. We will all be, to paraphrase her, all the better for knowing her. On behalf of the entire extended Stone family, I want to thank you all so much for the care and the support you've shown us. It's been a remarkable display of affection. We all deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you all.
I'm reminded of the expression, apples don't fall from the tree. And certainly we have a lot of apples out here that don't fall from Betty's tree. The tree of kindness and respect, compassion, empathy, all the things that David and others all talked about. And that's certainly the answer that she gave to James Dickey's question, how do we want to lead our lives? Be kind, be gentle, be respectful, care about each other, and be courageous. I want to remind you that there will be a reception behind the podium here. We hope all of you can attend. And I would say today, we have heard remembrances of things past. However, they are not just the past. These remembrances help shape and define who we are today and who we will be in the future. In the end, all of us, in the end, we are here to nurture, support, and guide the next generations. You have been lucky today. I certainly have been. You have borne witness to Betty's extraordinary success. I'll leave you with this secular benediction. Betty, all the love you created is still here. All the memories are still here. You live on in the hearts of everyone you have touched and nurtured while